Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. And we have Kirby today.
How's it going, everybody?
And I am your very stinky co-host today. Can you smell me?
Yes, I can.
From over
That's
there?
why I asked before we started recording when you said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so stinky," and I said, "Do you want to go take a shower?" And you said, "No, let's go record the podcast." And I said, "We're going to be sitting very close."
You're not as close to me as I am. It's quite...
You get nose
it's
blindness
distracting.
now. If the people at Febreze have taught us anything, is that you get nose blindness when you're used to a stinky smell that's very close to you. And you're the closest.
I am the closest. We'll see if by the end of the episode I stop smelling myself. Now, if I say I'm going to go grocery shopping after this and not...
Tackle you.
Then tackle me and be like, girl, you need to shower. Otherwise, you get butt zits, too. That's the thing. Because of I just got a waft of my armpits. It's so bad. I should have showered. I get excited about the episodes, though.
You really do. When I was pouring water to come up to record the episode, you were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I need water to record. And also I need to email the question up to the upstairs computer."
I get excited about we'll talk about the question, and then we'll plot out what we're going to say, and then we'll talk about it. And then I just get excited of yeah, this is the mojo I need for the episode, though. So I don't want to lose the mojo. So I'm like, come on.
Let's do this.
Do this. So I had no time to shower because then I was going to get unexcited, and I'm excited.
Good.
Anyways, listener highlight?
Yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. So this is a new one just from a few days ago, and it is 2 stars. Just kidding. It's 5 stars. It's on Apple Podcasts, and it's from Future DC Megan. Or do you think that's Megan?
Megan.
Okay, in reality,
I just like saying it that way. It's probably Megan.
It's probably Megan, because I've never actually met a Megan.
I think a Megan would be spelled Meeegan.
3 E's? Because their parents are just
Megan.
dicks. Not only are we going to name her Megan, but we're going to make the weirdest spelling
Just
ever.
makes it clear for everyone that it's Megan.
It's Megan. All right. Anyways, and it says, she absolutely slays this podcast. Dr. Lauryn is a freaking rock star. Her podcast encompasses multiple different facets of life as a female chiropractor and is the perfect resource as a female chiropractic student. She brings on so many amazing women who I love learning from and see as mentors, even though they have no idea. I found this podcast and binged it so hard I couldn't stop myself because she is real, authentic, hilarious, down to earth, and driven, and beautiful, and wise, and the greatest wife ever. And I added some of those. Just hold on. She didn't type those. Cannot recommend this podcast enough. Thank you, Dr. Lauryn. Thank you, Megan.
Megan. Megan's so sweet.
You know what I was thinking as I was talking to a guest that we had on recently? That was just a cool person. I don't want to do any spoiler alerts. But I was just really grateful for the podcast and how it's such an in with cool people.
Yeah.
And to be like, hey, I have this space over here. If you want to come into this space and have a chat, I would love to. And I think the way that we invite people on too is very this is not, you're not going to come and just do all the talking and sell your shit and say all your lines that you say on all the other podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feed you the same questions. And not that that's a bash at other chiropractic podcasts.
No, those things serve
they're
their
being done.
purpose. Yeah. We wouldn't make an impact doing the same thing that other people do. And I think it's cool that, like you said, you have a reason to contact people you want to talk to and just have interesting conversations with them because it's your podcast. So there's no obligation to do anything but have the conversation you want to have.
Oh, I remind people it's my podcast all the time.
I know. I edit them. I hear you saying it all the time.
Go, girl, this is basically all for me. No, just kidding. What was weird is we actually had 2 requests this week to have a student on.
That is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And the dilemma, is I don't know if any of you have listened. No, I'm not even going to say that because I don't want anybody who's been on the podcast to think I'm talking about them. It's very important to have an engaging person on the podcast as a guest. Otherwise, it makes my life very difficult.
Well, and matching the right student with the right issue. is a tricky thing too, of like, if someone is asking a question about like feeling isolated, and then you have someone who's really gregarious and has always had a great friend group, they may have some good advice, but they may not be able to relate. You know, depending on what the question is, we got to just find the right person. I think it's a cool idea, though.
I do too. I think it would just be like a general question of like, how do you cope with the stress of chiropractic school? So, if you're listening and you're fun to talk to, that's important.
Send in a short 5-minute video.
Yes, send me a video of selling why you would be a great guest to answer the question.
But just film what your side of a conversation would be like. So like, leave spaces and then like answer a fake question.
You're such a creep. Okay, let's keep going.
Should we read the question?
Yes.
Okay, so today's question, we're going to anonymize because...
Is that how you say that?
Yeah, anonymize.
Anonymous.
To make anonymous. Anonymize.
Did you make that word up?
I don't think... I can look it up right now to see.
No. I believe you. You're a smart person. If I said it, though, I would be pretty sure I made it up. Anonymization.
Anonymities.
We're going to apply anonymity to this situation.
There you go. So this is not the person's real name, and we may have changed a couple details just in case it's a sensitive subject or people around this person are listening. So this is from Trish, not her real name.
Not her real name.
Dr. Lauryn, a little about me. I'm a recent grad, and I have been associating. I'm the third of 4 associates in the practice since the beginning of the year. I absolutely love the practice that I'm in, ideal patient population, techniques, practice values, etc., and have enjoyed my short practice experience immensely so far. Since before I started chiropractic school, I knew I wanted to open my own practice and had originally intended to move across the country and do just that after graduation. However, I met my boyfriend during chiropractic school.
Oh, they fell in love.
And he was several trimesters behind where I was. After conversations with him, my family, and friends, I decided to stay in the area while he was finishing up school and get some experience in the field prior to moving and starting a practice. Recently, I've been dreaming and thinking a lot about the future and the practice I plan to open and can't wait to get rolling in the process. When I was going through the interviewing process with my boss, she had asked about my plan for the next 5 years, and I was honest with her then about my intentions to move and open up in the near future. I'm currently thinking that I plan to leave the practice I am in at the end of 2021. I know that it feels like a long time from now, but here's where my question for you comes in. Number 1, do you have any recommended exit strategies, or as a practice owner with experience employing associate doctors, is there an ideal way that conversation process comes up? Is there a timeline that you recommend the process starts? I have all the respect in the world for our head doc and appreciate all that she's done for me, but we both know this is not a super long-term situation. Number 2, semi-related question, if I'm beginning to build my personal brand as a healthcare provider and eventual future practice on social media, is there a way to promote myself, brand my eventual future practice without overstepping my respect for the doc I currently work for and practice that I'm in? Our practice currently has a practice social media page, and the head doc has her own social media professional page, but neither of the other 2 associates have their own public professional pages. I don't want to wait until I'm officially done at the practice to work on those things, but I also don't want to seem disrespectful. Any advice or recommendations would be greatly appreciated. Love, Trish.
Did she really say love?
Well, there's like a heart. It's like a less than sign and a 3.
Oh.
So heart.
Okay, so she doesn't love me.
She thinks you're less than 3.
Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. So let's start with the first half. It was a long question. I like the background, though. It's very helpful to have background.
Once again, you've forgotten God.
Oh, gosh. Every time I'm with you, I just forget God. I think I think he's trying to tell me something.
Am I the devil? Am I influencing you to forget? I also remind you about God.
That is, okay. Just pray.
Okay. Dear God, thank you for giving us a chance to get together again and share this podcast and this experience with all the people listening. Thank you for the question from Trish. Be with her as she goes on a new adventure, and be with her and her boyfriend and her boss as they all figure out how to communicate and move through life together. Help us all to give each other grace, to own our responsibilities, and to take bold leaps to make the life that you want for us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You know what we don't have much information about is this boyfriend.
That's true.
So
we should give him a name and a backstory.
Well, like, I kind of I'm assuming they're gonna get hitched, or like, this is the weird thing about graduate school, where it's like, you know, they met while in chiropractic school. I mean, they couldn't have, anyway, so I'm assuming they're getting married.
Well, I think that was the thing kind of for us was when we were starting to talk about what we were going to do in the future, and it was very tied together, that was when I knew, at least, like, we were getting married. Right. So, like, we just went of like, okay, well, we're talking about what we're going to do when you graduate.
Yeah.
And so that was like, we should be married by then. Like,
so are they going to start this practice together, or?
That I don't know.
Are they going to move? Is he okay with moving across the country?
The fact that
we're just going to have to assume yes.
Yeah, she stayed around for him, and now she's got this dream, and she's trying to figure out how to say it to her boss. I'm assuming that they're on the same page. If you're not on the same page, go back and listen to all our marriage ones.
We got some marriage counseling for you. Okay, so we're going to proceed forward, assuming that
he's on board, but I think we assume not necessarily that they're opening together. I don't think we assume that.
We're not assuming that?
I mean, we can.
No, that does complicate it. So we're going to assume that they're going to move across the country, and he's going to get an associate job, and she's going to start a practice.
We can assume they're opening it together, I suppose.
No, I like the other way.
Okay.
Because he's really into sports, and she's into peds.
Is that what it is?
This is their backstory.
Okay.
So he's going to go work for, like, a really big sports rehab.
Is that because he played so much rugby?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
He's actually at chiropractic school on a scholarship for it.
For rugby?
Yeah.
That's good.
And
congrats,
his name
man.
is...
Trevor.
Trevor and Trish. Oh, I like it. Trevor. That would be their married name.
Trevor?
Yeah.
Trisher?
Trisher? Nah, it doesn't.
Trevor.
We need to move forward with the
dokes.
actual part of the podcast. Damn it.
Okay.
So
you said you want to focus on the first part of the question, which was about exit strategies and communication with her boss.
So I think that first and foremost, you need to reflect yourself on your integrity, your morals, your standards of like business ethics, and how you would want this to play out for you. Because I believe karma's a bitch. And so although you are, I mean, a lot of this is going to be putting you first. Like, you need to put your life before this practice that you're an associate for. Mm-hmm. That is obvious, right? You're playing a role in your doc's practice life. But in that sense, if you had no integrity, you would just be like, peace out. Today's my last day. I'm on to new and better things tomorrow. And I don't think very many people listening would do that. So you have to kind of like think,
well, especially because she said her boss treated her really well. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a relationship there, and hopefully something that they can keep as a good relationship, because they're going to run into problems and they can't write into the podcast every week. So it'd be nice to have someone who's experienced to call back across the country and pick their brain.
Yep. Yeah. So, I start there and really think like, okay, this is how I would want my future associate for this to play out, and go through the feelings that I think it's a good empathy exercise of like, oh, I would be angry at them, like, in this, and like use a lot of that this exercise, because you're going to use that in how you communicate when you do get to that point that you're leaving.
And keep in mind that there's two selves, they say. There's the experiencing self and the remembering self. So the experiencing self might be the one who goes like, I don't want to have that awkward conversation. I'll just wait until the last second. But the remembering self is the one that looks back and goes, how did I handle that? That has to live with your decisions for a long time after. And so I would say, listen and think more about what you're going to look back on yourself as and go, did I handle this with my version of morals? Did I handle it with integrity? Because if you do something that in the moment is expedient, but long-term is regretful, the regret doesn't go away, really.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I've never heard you say that before. You've just been keeping that little nugget to yourself, huh?
I read it in a book.
That's true. If you told me everything you read in a book. Okay, so also take a look at your contract. Assuming you have one,
Yep.
There's probably a non-compete. So I'm assuming just from the question, it says something about moving across the country.
Yeah.
So like this would be a very different question, and we have gotten that question before about like, yeah, I'm gonna open up across town and probably be direct competition. That's a whole different
It's
answer.
a bit trickier.
It's tricky, but we're not answering that.
Yep.
So we're assuming, like she says, she's moving across the country. So the non-compete, as far as that, should not be an issue. But just kind of know your contract. Is there an amount of time they want?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it says like, I need 3 months notice, you should know that, and you're going to at least get 3 months.
Yeah, and you know, more progressive or more interesting contracts. I know we've talked to our associate about it, of like we have it where we want and we insist on 6 months notice, and we've compensated for that so that if we get less than that, there are, you know, penalties or givebacks.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, you have to keep in mind though that whenever you do decide to do this, you might get fired right then and there. I doubt it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a good relationship. It sounds like you've been generally upfront about it. But times are tricky.
Yup, it's COVID.
So it's a really hard thing. And we're obviously speaking from owners here. But like if the practice is down because of COVID and you have 3 of the other associates are ride or die there forever, and you're saying like you want to leave and you're going to leave, it's kind of nice to save on that salary as an owner if you're like losing money.
Yeah. But, you know, you still see, this is the tricky part of like, I doubt that you're going to get fired right away, but you could. So start saving money now, because no matter what, when you transition and you start moving, you're going to want some absolute time. You're not going to have your last day be on a Friday, move across the country on the weekend, and open up on Monday.
Yeah.
You're going to need some time to fully 100% focus on starting your practice where you're not going to have an income. So start saving now. And I would say, you know, she's talking about the end of 2021. I would try and have like 2 months of income that you could live on. In an ideal situation, like start saving now, before you even tell, if that's possible.
Yeah.
You know,
just as like if this blows up and it's like, oh, I was going to open in 6 months or in 8 months, but I guess I'm moving across the country now and getting started.
Yep. God has a funny way of, you know.
The thing's going to happen that's supposed to happen, and you're going to be stronger than you think and able to deal with it, but it always helps to prepare.
So, ways of approaching the conversation. So, I would say both Kirby and I agreed separately that 6 month is very fair.
Yeah.
Anything longer than that, and it's just kind of this like hanging over your head thing that as an owner, I would just be like, I don't want to focus on this for the next 6 months or 9 months. Like, ugh. Like,
6 months feels like it has the feel of like,
it has
okay,
respect.
I need to let this sink in for a couple weeks and be like a little upset or whatever. Then get my head screwed back on right as an owner. Then start the hiring process to replace you. That'll take a couple months probably. Then have some overlap of you training with them. And then, like, we get to say a nice, polite goodbye instead of like, ah, crap, you're leaving? Like, I'm mad, but I love you. Goodbye.
Yeah. So some key things to bring to that conversation is, one, I would say timing. Make sure, like, if you can work it into, okay, so let's say that every January you guys do annual reviews and the 6 months would actually be February. Maybe do it in the annual review. Like, you know, like,
yeah, if there's a good time for it that's already built in anyway, that's going to be a natural thing, because if you're going to do it outside of that, as soon as you say like, hey, next Thursday, can we sit down? I really need to talk to you about something. Your boss is immediately going to go like, so you're quitting? You're pregnant? You're married?
Okay,
what's going on?
Don't put me on this other boss.
I know that's what I would do if someone said like, think about a relationship. If someone goes like, hey, we really need to talk. And then you go like, what about? And they're like, no, tonight at dinner. And you're like, come on.
But I do think that the owner is not going to be ever, unless it's like a sit down quarterly or annual review, like there's not a good time to, so like, I think that you could phrase it like, if you can't work this into a review, you can phrase it of like, is there a time in the next month that you and I could sit down and talk about like
future plans
and like what you're envisioning and what I'm envisioning.
Yep.
So like you can kind of work it there. Now you might want to do this at the end of the day and have your ducks in a row, because she might, if she's anything like me, be like, are you quitting? Just tell me right now, like type thing. And you know, I don't know. I don't know how you work things like that. I would prefer not to word vomit in that moment, but you know, so try and phrase it of like very casual of like, hey, is there some time in the next month? So not like, is there some time this week, or like, you know, like,
do you have a minute?
Or like maybe when you're done with patients today, can we sit down and talk for a couple minutes? I got to talk to you about something. So, you know, very casual. Like I'd like to see like what you're kind of thinking for 2021, run something, you know, like that. When you come, like I said, know your contract, but don't quote it. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, so don't be coming in lawyered up, basically.
Yeah, so like if you are required to give a 6-month notice and you're giving a 6-month notice, like then just don't even mention that.
Yeah, just say contracts are there to remind people of the agreements that they made. Keep in mind that contracts only exist because people are in relation to each other. So keep the relationship and acknowledge the contract, but like focus on the relationship. So if it says 6 months and you're giving 6 months, you don't need to say, I'm contractually obligated to give you 6 months.
And today is the 6 month. Like,
yeah. And if you're contractually obligated to give 3 months, but you're giving 6 months, you don't say I'm contractually obligated either. Go, I know we agreed that I would give you 3, but I also know that this process is hard. So I wanted to give you more time. Like, so I hope you don't mind that I'm giving you 6 months. But when you start bringing in any kind of legalese, there's something that like happens to people where they get super defensive.
So you read your contract. Good. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be calling my yeah. Oh, yeah.
So try and keep that tone out of it if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Understand that she could be a very, very nice person, but her brain is going, as the owner, is going to go almost immediately to like problem solving and like,
you go.
So don't expect this to be a feely thing. Like you be very emotionally willing to connect, but don't get freaked out. If you're a millennial, like don't expect her to hold your hand in this moment. This is about her. You are breaking up with her.
I was just going to say, it's like you're dumping someone, and eventually, because your relationship was good and you know you can be friends,
but like
don't expect him to be your friend today.
Yeah, and she might handle this great and you know, whatever. But like just don't, you know, be prepared. Just be prepared. Let her know that like I would almost voice concerns that you think she might have. So you could say things like, I want you to know that you might be concerned that I'm going to be distracted over this 6 months. I am not. I will do 100% of the work of like working about moving, getting new state licensure, all that on my off time. I will, you know, let her know you are going to be focused on being present and here and continuing to build her practice while you're here. Because that's going to be her number one thing is like, are you just going to be a dead weight on my salary?
Yeah.
Are you going to be trash talking me to patients? Let her know I am not going to say a word to patient until you tell me. Yep. I'm not going to announce this anywhere. Like you tell me the words you want. If you don't even want me saying anything, if you want me to just Irish goodbye people, I don't. Do people? I said that right, by the way.
You really did.
I was so proud of myself. Do people know what an Irish goodbye is? Can we just have a tangent there of what that is?
Yeah.
Just in case.
It's when you leave a party and you just don't say goodbye to anyone and you're just gone. And then people wonder where you went.
Yep. So
you just disappear one day, and then they're like, "What happened to Trish?" She fell off a cliff and died down.
she left. I love Dr. Katie, but I'm finding out Dr. Katie's our associate who her husband got a wonderful job, and she left us in June. Their family, her and her husband, moved to New Jersey. But that asshole, I am learning that she totally Irish goodbye some patients.
Oh, she didn't tell them.
No, so it's really funny because think how emotionally exhausting. If you have to say
telling every
to
patient,
everyone, but yeah, to this day, 2 months later, I have people that are like, so where'd that other doc go? And I'm like, oh, her and her husband moved to New Jersey. He got a wonderful job, and they're like, she's gone. Yes, yeah. I will do the work. But anyway, but if that's what your doc wants, this is her damn practice, and these are her patients. This is her livelihood. You're about to leave and make your livelihood. Let the doc know I am willing to do what you need from me in this.
And then really follow through on that, because it's going to be apparent, and whether they say it or not, they're going to kind of be noticing. So if you do have a transition period where you're still employed, but you're starting to set up your Facebook page for your practice across the country, or your website or whatever, if you didn't finish your soap notes this week, but you got your new website done, your boss is going to notice that, and they're going to be very, very upset with you. So give your word for what you think you can actually do, honor their wishes, but know that there's probably going to be some discomfort on your end, and there's definitely some discomfort on your boss's end. They have to find a new you.
Yep. Continue to, and along with action on that, continue to bring it in team meetings. If you guys have a part of your team meeting where it's who's got ideas or suggestions, do not say, hey, this is something I think I'm going to do for my practice. And I thought it would be great for you guys. Don't say any of that shit. Just be like, hey, I was thinking about our new patient phone call. What if after we got their paperwork, we keep talking in the we sense, we sent an email with just a really cute, we got your paperwork boomerang, continue to have creative ideas and talk and think in the we.
Here's something I thought of that I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be something difficult too, but I hadn't really thought of it before. Be emotionally prepared to be a ghost in the room too. Give your input when you can, but as the rest of the practice is talking about the future while you're still there, it's going to be a bit awkward. They're going to go okay, so what are we doing for the February event? And if you're leaving in end of December, they're going to assign roles and they're going to work on projects, and no one's going to mention you because you're not going to be there, and that's going to be weird for you, and it's weird for them. And
if they do mention, because people are nice, and I could see people being oh, Trish, we're going to miss you. Just be cool. Don't milk that. Be it's okay. You guys are going to do great. What can I do to support you before I leave?
Yep.
For this event. Do you want me,
yeah.
Just be, in that sense, be Cold Stone sober, just Cold Stone Creamery.
Just start mixing ice cream on a cold slab. That'll change the whole meeting. Right? That's what Cold Stone does. They put the ice.
Shut up. Yeah, but Cold Stone.
Be stone cold?
Stone Cold Stone. Oh my God. Anyways, be just very kind, and don't milk the because again, as a boss, I could see my employees being oh, you didn't miss you. And I'd just be stop it. She's leaving us. She jumped on, in my head. So just be I appreciate it. I'm going to miss you guys too. You guys are going to do great though, So yeah, let's see. What else as far as telling the boss that she's leaving?
I think setting that initial meeting, kind of if they agree 6 months, having both you understand that it's a fluid process, and saying that you're going to keep talking about it, because it may be that they find a new associate in a month. And you help train that person. Hopefully that's how that works. You keep that salary. Maybe you drop to part-time. Maybe you're gone early, whatever. But know that you're dropping something on them.
Hold on. When you're communicating that, make it clear that you are not leaving one day earlier. It's fluid on their end if they want.
Yeah.
But like you don't want to communicate like,
I might leave
giving you
earlier.
6 months, but who knows if life happens, I might
Yeah.
leave in 4. Like, no, I am here for 6 months if that's what you need. But if you find someone sooner and you don't want me on your salary full time for 6 months, like I understand that, you know, I'm willing to help train. I'm willing to go down to part-time. Like, again, just show up being like, with the heart that like you're breaking up with them and like I'm here for you, to serve you, to keep my head in the game here, like.
And just to protect yourself, though, hopefully you've planned enough on the upfront that if that does happen, you're ready to roll or that you can survive that in between time. So it sounds like you have enough time to kind of prep for this. So I would, you know, work backwards with your finances and, like you said, have a couple months and probably more savings, because if you're planning on opening up pretty quickly afterwards, you're going to have to like rent space and pay for a lot of stuff for your own clinic up front. So start thinking financially in those terms as well.
Let's talk about social media, what she should do social media wise prior to, like, so let's say she isn't going to tell her boss for 4 more months. Mm-hmm. And then that will start a 6-month time clock. What I would do now is I wouldn't worry about Facebook, honestly. Like, don't worry about Facebook. I think that as you get closer to your actual clinic where you've got like a logo and a name and, you know, maybe a signed lease, that's where you would worry about like your Facebook page.
Yeah.
I would mostly start with Instagram. You could also do, I mean, it depends on what your ideal patient is, but you could also start doing TikTok stuff. If we have TikTok, who knows if TikTok's even still going to be here when this episode is released.
The most recent thing I read is Microsoft and Walmart may partner in buying TikTok, but then I don't know if it would look like TikTok anymore or even have that name. It's kind of like how Skype got bought by Microsoft, but now it's just a feature of Teams. I don't know what they would do or where they would put it, but I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. But anyway, so I would start with, so if you have Instagram, which I would assume you have Instagram, you have a couple options. You can start a separate, more formal one. I don't know. I don't want to like hijack this conversation and turn it into a social media thing. I like you having one social media handle. Dr. Trish DC, let's say that's your handle. And just starting to be an authentic chiropractor from that place where it's not overly selling, but you're educating and showing your life. Now, if you've got like a dark side, Trish, and you're like, but I still twerk it on the weekends and I really want to do those, then maybe you need a separate account. But as your employer, it's going to raise a red flag of like, oh, you have a personal thing now, or, you know, like.
Well, ultimately, I think with the social media side of things, it's what are you hoping to accomplish? So if the whole concern is you want to hit the ground running and get people in the door when you open your new practice across the country, keep in mind that like, while other industries might be more about like getting nationwide presence, chiropractic's a really local game.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
It is so focused on having the people within 10 to 15 miles of your practice know who you are when they can actually take action. Because starting to say the new chiropractic clinic coming soon, but you're 18 months out, like
right.
People are going to, the people who needed you now can't come to you because you don't exist yet. And the people who will care down the road are going to get bored of hearing coming soon for 18 months.
Yeah, that's true.
So you could wait until 2 months before you open, but have your ducks in a row and get your Google places and your Bing places and your, you know, all your listings and your Facebook page up and your website up, and you've been designing that the whole time, and you click publish and you have a drawn out 2-month marketing plan for opening, is going to be more effective, I would argue, than 18 months of slow drip. And you'd also have to worry about, if it's publicly out there, because it has to be public to get to the public, that forces your conversation even earlier with your doc.
So you don't think that, and I agree with you, but I'm just clarifying what you're saying. So if she's not planning on telling her doc for another 2 months, that she's giving her 6-month notice. So she's 8 months out before being done with this practice. You don't think there's any point in even starting to have like a, you know, here's a picture of me adjusting a baby, and like here's reasons that babies get seen at, I don't know, we'll name the practice she's currently working at Smith Chiropractic. Like,
yeah, there could be, I mean, in terms of SEO, like if you have a presence out there and you have a personal website and that has some traction, but that's a lot of work to get traction on an individual basis. That could help your authenticity when you have a business page. But I don't know how many people actually go down the rabbit hole of going like, okay, there's a new chiropractor coming to town. I love their ads. I love their marketing. I love their building. I'm not going to go to them until I dig through the owner's social media and make sure that she has a bunch of videos. Like, I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to have as much of an impact relative to the relationship side, because you'd have to play it so carefully in terms of, okay, you want to make videos, you want to establish your own professional brand, but you still work for someone else. So it has to be innocuous enough that you're not mentioning them so that it helps support your future one, or you're just doing it for them and you're mentioning their name, and then it's confusing for your future brand when people go dig into your old videos and you go, I'm Trish from Smith Chiropractic, let's talk about pediatrics. And they're like, wait, I thought you're Trish from Trish Chiropractic.
But it also shows this isn't a brand new doc. She has been doing this a while. Mm-hmm. So, like, I agree. I think that in general, having an Instagram and starting to just be conscious of what's your authentic message within chiropractic.
Yep.
And just starting to exude that. It's good practice anyways. And to start gaining, you're not going to start gaining followers, because really, if you're in Dallas and you're planning on moving to Myrtle Beach, you're not going to get in front of your ideal patients by hashtagging chiropractic or hashtagging women chiropractors, or, you know, like, you're not going to start getting in their feeds until you start hashtagging Myrtle Beach holistic moms, Myrtle Beach chiropractors, Myrtle Beach healthy living, Myrtle Beach, Myrtle Beach, Myrtle Beach. And then if you started doing that now, your doc is going to be like, hey, great IGTV. What's up with all the hashtags about Myrtle Beach? Do we need to talk?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the complexity of, like, it's not bad. I do think it would be really good practice, and just to have a backlog of library of that you can pull from and get experience.
That might be another thing too, depending on your role in your current practice, of if you've just been adjusting and you're not doing any marketing, or you're doing some marketing but you've never really kicked it into gear there. It's an opportunity to serve your current boss and really start to work on yourself too, of like, I'll do videos for you because I need to get comfortable in front of a camera, because there's going to be no one but me. Mm-hmm. Because Trevor's going to go open his sports practice.
Yeah, I forgot about Trevor. What's Trevor doing? What's he doing with his Instagram? No, here's the other reason, and this is a little, like, I don't mean to be shady here, but
you're shady AF.
So when you open okay, so I'm picturing like this time period where she's done with Smith Chiropractic, and she's about to, like, she's 6 weeks away from opening Trish Chiropractic. We always get ourselves into these damn things. You need, like, I feel like pictures of you being a chiropractor are really helpful for your website, for your Instagram page, for your professional page. And guess what? You're not really adjusting kids anymore because
you're not open yet.
You're not open yet. So it is a really nice excuse to be like, hey, Cynthia at the front desk, can you take a picture of me adjusting this baby? And we can use it on, you know, because she said that her Smith Chiropractic has social media. You know, so like it's that is that good excuse to like, and now you have that photo also type of thing.
Yeah, you know? And I think that's part of the conversation with the boss too, of like,
not the first one.
Not the first one.
Oh, no, God.
She's like, I just want to make sure I get to keep all my pictures.
Yeah, if we did not say what not to say, but like making sure that's a later conversation.
Yeah, that's everyone's happy and the new associates in there and you help train them, and then it's like, do you mind if I take my headshots too? Like, of course, no problem. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. I'm just picturing that conversation going terribly. So if she had all that stuff in the same way.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about the social media of having like your own professional, and I think a lot of the social media aspect is that having everything in place to kind of do that blitz versus the slow rollout of, you need to know, because a lot of stuff of when you're telling people that you're coming soon, they want like the who, what, when, where, why type stuff of like, where are you, like you need to have your location and your brand and your business entity set up. So hopefully those are things that you can do again on your own time after you're done with work, get those things ready to go so that it's pushed out the door all at once for like a 2-month blitz, I would say. Yep.
I think a 2-month blitz is you have a plan though, so you don't get to 2 months and go like, okay, I'm in the 2 months, I should start doing something. Like Kirby said, it's like, oh no, you have your logo, you have your business cards, you have your Facebook page built, you have your website built.
Ideally, you already have partnerships in your new community of like, who you're going to work with or you're going to talk to.
You know of them.
Okay.
But like, I would say around that 8, like, people are so busy and time moves so fast that like, especially with COVID stuff, I mean, we're not going to be in that in 2021. Maybe.
We'll see.
But like, if somebody came to me and was like, yeah, I'm opening at some point, like in the next few months, I'd be like, where are you going to be? Well, I don't really have a place yet. I'd just be like, bitch, I'm seeing like, okay, let me know when you've got more details figured out. Like,
yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, but like, and having like an 8-week plan out your content, have an idea around like, okay, this is where I'm going to do this is your doctor. This is where I'm going to do an IGTV. This is where I'm going to have like this thing, like.
Well, and we have other episodes too on like marketing, starting up a practice and stuff too. So those are good things to go listen to. Mm-hmm. But you have the caveat and the interesting aspect of you're not going to be doing it all out in the open and having the luxury of as much time because you're going to hopefully have a full-time job and then you're just hustling because that's what opening a new practice is a ton of work and you're going to go, this sucks and it's hard.
But you also have all this crazy amount of time because this is your job now. You aren't seeing patients.
Yeah, it's your new,
So did we do it? Did we figure it out? Did we solve all Trish's problems?
I think we fixed the world.
Yeah. Trevor.
I mean, get Trevor to work. What's he doing?
What's he even doing? Probably like focusing on Part 4 boards or something.
He's just at rugby practice all the time.
Damn it, Trevor.
Then he's asking to get adjusted because he's so sore from rugby.
All right. Well, Dr. Trish, I think that one of the greatest things you did was have open communication when you were getting hired. I think it is a very tempting thing when you are being hired as an associate to be like,
say anything.
I will say whatever will get me this job. And so, I think that was one of the best things. Remember you really appreciates that aspect of like,
Yep. Experiencing you may have been uncomfortable saying that, but remembering you now appreciates it.
Yep. So good luck. Would love to know how it goes and what you're deciding on a timeline. If you send us at some point in the next year, if this happens, like I will read your update on the podcast. Yeah. Let us know, how did Smith Chiropractic take it?
And how's Trish Chiropractic going?
And what's up with Trevor? Are you guys married yet?
Yeah, let us know. Trevor, you gotta pull the trigger. You gotta ask her to marry you, man.
Yep, lock it down. All right. Until next week, She Slayers, keep those questions coming. Write us a review so we can talk about you on air.
Yeah, it happens quick. Someone wrote one a couple days ago and we read it today.
Yeah, well, now somebody feels bad because they wrote one and we didn't read it.
Well, write a better one.
Oh my God, he's joking. We're not referencing anybody. Joking. I'm very sorry if we have not read your review yet. I am not an organized person, so,
Sorry.
All right. Anyways, God, you're the worst. Until next week, She Slayers. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.